Now we begin this edition of WION Pulse with the latest developments coming in from the Israel-Hamas war. Egypt has rejected Israel's proposal to monitor a buffer zone on its borders with Gaza. Now, according to reports, Egypt authorities are making efforts to broker a ceasefire agreement before working out details of what the post-war arrangement will be. Egypt and Qatar are two of West Asia's countries that are leading negotiations to broker a ceasefire and a hostage swap deal. Meanwhile, in Gaza, the health ministry has warned of a looming catastrophe for displaced Palestinians inside the enclave. The health ministry officials are raising an alarm over hunger, dehydration and disease that they call a triangle of death emerging in the region. The United Nations has reported that since October 7th, over 90% of civilians have been displaced in Gaza. Adding to this, the humanitarian crisis is worsening as little aid is trickling into the enclave. Meanwhile, in Israel, some family members of the hostages being held captive by the Hamas militant group took to the streets to protest against humanitarian aid being sent into Gaza at all. Close to 30 protesters blocked 8 trucks going into Gaza via the Kerem Shalom crossing. They were stopped by Israeli police personnel. On the diplomatic front, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is currently in Israel. In the latest flurry of visits, Blinken met with Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The discussions revolved around Israel's intensive military operations in Gaza. The meeting follows a discussion between Blinken and Israel's leaders Isaac Herzog and the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. State Department has said that in the meeting, Blinken urged Netanyahu to avoid further harm to the Gaza civilians. Herzog, meanwhile, dismissed South Africa's accusations of genocide against Israel. The International Court of Justice in Gaza is hearing the case.
On Thursday, a proceeding will start in the International Court of Justice in The Hague, whereby South Africa has sued Israel for supposedly genocide. There's nothing more atrocious and preposterous than this claim.
In the backdrop of the war in Gaza, in his latest address at Doha, Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh called on Muslim states to provide Palestinian groups with weapons. He said, and I'm quoting here, "We see countries of the world pouring weapons into the occupation. The time has come to support the resistance with weapons, because this is not the battle of the Palestinian people alone." The leader reiterated his conditions for a potential hostage deal.
They will never recover their hostages unless they release all of our prisoners in the Israeli prisons.